Welcome to Court of the Dead Live. We are in Tom's office. Behind the scenes tour.
Hey!
We're looking at original paintings by Alex Horley. Tell us about Alex and his paintings and your office.
So my office, where I get to hang out all day. Anyway, filled with the artifacts of, the last 25 years, I guess. But more importantly for today's discussion and the Court of the Dead Mourner's Call board game is the art that makes up the factional sleeves that go on the board game that you get to choose your faction when you've made your pledge. So these are the actual original paintings that artwork was generated from. So Alex Horley is a name that if you've been, in the scene or whatnot, or watched video games, whatnot, he's done a ton of Blizzard work. He's done all kinds of stuff for Rob Zombie and all number of sort of band and such music elements as well. But
he's pretty metal from the sounds of it.
For the most part, yeah. So he's a awesome combination of the elements of the past and the exciting visual dynamics of the now and the future or whatnot. And even his approach to his artwork is awesomely traditional. These are all oil and acrylic paintings, all hand done. He is a traditionalist in that regard. So for me, who's maybe a little older than some, this takes me back to kind of, the San Julian and Frazetta stuff of the 70s that just sort of totally turned my imagination on. I know that is part of Alex's DNA as well, and we talk about that often. But as a collaborator on Court of the Dead, he's been amazing, totally gets the property, loves the aspects of it, and I think that comes through shiningly in these pieces that he's done for us. So this first one here is the Impermanence of Flesh. So this is the Flesh faction. Each one of these has the faction scion, in this case, Queen Gethsemane at the center, surrounded by other key elements of her crew. Rafe, her bodyguard, Exrael, the head of her Conclave of Shadows, fan favorite Galavarb, a lesser known but not insignificant aspect of the Conclave, a character named White Shiv, and Drimdram and Loach are two characters that sort of back up Exrael and Rafe as sort of the team that runs the Conclave and keeps the sort of CIA of the underworld kind of doing its bit, keeping the secrets it told. But if you can get in close, these are behind glass, but so you can't quite see all of the careful brushwork and the buildup of layers that you can't see here. Can you catch some of that?
Yeah, you can see a little bit of the varnish and some of the strokes.
But it gives us such a lush result, and it's just a joy to see these when he brings them in finished. It's like a Christmas morning unwrapping or whatnot. So always exciting to see this. He's an awesome collaborator. And if we move over here, we have the Transcendence of Spirit. So this one has a little bit of a duality at work. We know that the faction of Spirit is a little bit sort of divided in its rulership. So Elian Astis kind of takes care of the big picture, the great oracle and the understood leader of the faction. But kind of at the street level and the getting things done part is the upstart, Valkyrie Kier, sort of the orphan of the underworld that's been adopted by death, or the all-taker. And the conflict that resists within her over her vengeance of being cast out of heaven and how they did it is sort of her the reason why she's in the Spirit faction, as a means to try and settle that for her or whatnot. But this piece again has just lush color, and when we talk about color in Court of the Dead, the colors really do matter. So when we were looking at the Impermanence of Flesh, the Flesh faction really drives on a kind of hot, vibrant, sort of burnt sienna orange, color that has warmth, and it sort of gives off some of that adaption aspect. In Spirit, it's soaked in the ethereal blue that we were talking about in an earlier podcast today. This color is like the color of the underworld. It's the most beautiful color in the spectrum of colors we use as a means to show that these are the heroes. This is the color of the noble purpose in the property. But you can also see that this character here, Kayla Kale, who's come up in a number of our podcasts, a new character for many. She's the head of the Dreadsbane Order. But you can see that purple is kind of cascading around her. Purple is the color of the Dreadscript. The Dreadscript is the malady that affects the psyche of all mourners if they let their power or their darker impulses or more destructive impulses take over themselves. So her Dreadsbane Order is fighting that, and in this case, she kind of uses their power against themselves. So that's where this purple color kind of comes into this canvas here.
You can see the brush strokes and paint on this one very
Yeah,
well.
this one's got some, with all the different transitions and whatnot, there's a lot of
Looks
nice
like
surface
a lot
detail.
of people were into this piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so these are also not only the opportunity to get this as your sleeve for the box, but these are also part of a very limited edition art program that we have. So these can be in the Impermanence of Flesh is I believe currently up for pre-order, and the other two will follow.
Underworld United is also up.
Yes, that was the one that led the batting order or whatnot. So that one has the All-Taker, Shard, Malavastros, and sort of a little amalgam of the underworld and the mortal realm and how its relationship weaves together between the two. And then, of course, last but not least, certainly not in Anna's opinion, is the Faction of Bone and the Strength of Bone piece. And so this one, the bone color is kind of typically a sort of whoop, I'm about to hit something. It's a little bit of a sort of a chlorine greenish yellow, kind of aspects of bone, but a little bit of a tinge of that sense of spirit. So each color has a little bit of a drift between the factions. And if you look on the game board, which we don't have with us right here or whatnot, you'll be able to see that Heaven and Hell both have a color that is not dissimilar in some relationship to the Faction of Bone and Flesh's color. So while Bone's color is a little bit more in the sort of chlorine green, Heaven is often seen as a very dingy, nicotine-stained yellow or whatnot. So the relationship of their law aspect with the law structure or stoicism of the Bone faction kind of creates a relationship there. And the same with Flesh, that it has a little bit of the aspects of the sort of magentas and sort of ugly reds that make up the colors of Hell, a little bit more celebratory in the sort of burnt oranges or whatnot of the Impermanence of Flesh or the Flesh faction's color. And yeah, it was here. It was here.
It ran away.
Which is something else to take a look at. This is another piece that Alex has done that I don't have behind glass. So this one you can really appreciate the amount of attention to surface detail that he's done. This is Queen Gethsemane at a kind of contemplative moment. Her bodyguard Rafe and companion, ever vigilant. And again, that hot, ethereal blue at work in the center, demonstrating that that's kind of the expression color of everything they do. And I mean, I think when he puts that color on there, he just nails it. I mean, it is electrifying.
Somebody would like to know if there's any painting about the Blood faction.
Man, that Blood faction gets more screen time than I know what to do with. But no, those guys were put down for a reason. Don't go opening that genie's bottle.
Can we take a look at some of the other things in your office?
Yeah,
Some people are saying
absolutely.
This is not an office, this is a museum.
So, all kinds of things that I've collected over time. I'm an old Warren Publishing Creepy and Eerie fan, so there's a couple busts up there that were done by a fellow special effects artist named Norman Cabrera. Let's see, this piece back here is done. This giant was an original sculpture by a gent named John Brown. I did a lot of conversions to it, painted all that up. That's something from when I had a heck of a lot more time to actually work on models instead of orchestrating stuff. Of course, my kid's there, one of my best creations. As is evidence here, my computer, my daughter, Amber, whom I love very much, but definitely is going out of her way to lobby Dad's favor. And probably, no doubt, mortified that I'm bringing this up on camera. So this is a little dad vengeance right here, right? So
This is wedding day.
but let's draw our attention over here. So we're moving on stretch goals, right? We're coming up on the Demethyle tier. Demethyle, the sort of venerable, hero of the underworld, the sort of morale fixture that gives all the other mourners in the underworld a sense of purpose and hope and knows that, hey, we have a chance in this fight. And this is a painting that's done by Vincent Preuss. He did this. This is going to be the cover of a novel that goes over the origin of Demethyle, standing next to what most folks who've been all along the Court of the Dead journey with us is the Reaper General Demethyle premium format piece. Definitely one of the most popular pieces in the line, and certainly one of my favorite characters. I think the aspect here of this painting, we see Demethyle sort of a bit more like an Arthurian knight, and again surrounded by kind of the desperate hopes and whatnot of the mourners of the underworld. As you pan down, you can kind of see the rest of the Mortis knighthood that follows him vigilantly in defending the underworld while they also have to sort of tend to the harvest.
So Demethyle, the stretch goals get unlocked at 130K?
130. I think we're
We're
almost
super
there.
close.
So reach
We're
out,
5K away.
talk to your friends, throw a little muscle around. I think everybody's going to dig this, what it unlocks, and certainly what it leads to. So let's get that done, yeah? These are a couple more paintings. You've got an Alex Horley piece there that shows Shard and her relationship with the All-Taker. And this piece, a real special one for me. I love this one. This is Kim Jung-gi. This is a South Korean artist, just an absolute master. Kind of an incredible story. You can see how much detail is here. It's really the All-Taker at the center. Sort of, we see troops this sort of set in the First World War. You know, the blind mourners kind of coming into the story or whatnot, not realizing what lays ahead. But the All-Taker trying to show this is what we are trying to unite. So you've got the faction of flesh, spirit, and bone, always standoffish, but attempting to create that unity that he has represented by this, symbol that's imprinted in the ground. But when we discussed this piece, he sent me a very loose illustration, and 10 days later, he sent the file and said, "Okay, it's all done." And I'm like, "Wow, 10 days? We talked about a lot of stuff." And I'm like, "Okay, well, maybe done. Maybe we're talking two different versions of done." But when I opened this up and saw how much was on this canvas, it felt like I got socked in the face from where I had seen it before. And I mean, I think that's just what he's so well known for, is he can put his pen at any point on a blank canvas, and he will actually let the composition, as complicated as one like this, just evolve around it as if he saw it before he even started the piece.
Watching his own live streams, or just
You can see he has a lot of live streams where he showcases this brilliance, and I mean, it's just staggering how he can do something here, over here, and there, and then suddenly he just connects it all. And this piece was one that came about in that same way, and I'm really proud to have this original up on the wall as well.
And we do have a question coming in about the game.
Yeah.
Somebody would like to know if your daughter helped with the game at all. Did you bounce ideas off her or anything like that?
Well, it's a little bit more my son who plays games with me all the time, and largely because many years ago we played an ill-fated game of Sorry in the house, and because we're all very competitive, I think we broke her on board game making, since she's never played a board game with us again. So sadly, I have that to mend, but she is very inspiring in the sense that, especially when I'm working on storylines and whatnot with Kier and her relationship to the All-Taker or whatnot, I can draw on life experience in that regard. And so in very abstract ways, she's certainly instrumental in a lot of the choices that get put into the narrative.
And we're having some questions about this mask up here.
Sure. So this is a mask. This is made by another effects friend named Bruce Mitchell. This is the actual original. He only does one of a kind, so he doesn't mold these. And if I could get up there, the face actually is all magnetically held together. So it's a helmet you can wear, but if you pull it, and maybe I can get it to do it. There you go.
Whoa!
The mask drops off, and the you can see the goggles. Those are actually sunglasses that are imprinted in that. You can pull that up or whatnot, or you can keep them down for when you're, going 100 miles an hour across the, or down Fury Road or whatnot, right? And he just does. He's got a great imagination, and these pieces are, incredible in that they're all epoxy putty, so they're really durable. It's like original art that I don't have to be afraid of, taking a hit or whatnot.
That's very cool.
And it's fun. I've been collecting several of his masks over the years. I really appreciate the artwork he does. His work, you can see a lot of films. He's a big suit constructionalist and an engineer and whatnot. Just a terrific guy.
Cool. Very cool. Well, don't forget to go to sideshow.com/Kickstarter to back Project Raygun's Court of the Dead, Mourner's Call.
Absolutely. And let's get that Demethyle figure in the game.
He is almost available. We're already past the 5th player expansion. It's really growing. It's pretty cool to see it happen.
Demethyle to me has always seemed like the John Wayne of Court of
Yep.
the Dead.
A little bit that, little bit Obi-Wan Kenobi, a little bit fixture mentality.
Let's see. We'll do one more once over. Everybody's so excited about the museum that is Tom's office.
Oh, you want to zoom in here too, just for James Hudson, who's been putting in a lot of time on this. I think he mentioned Frostmourne earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can come try and get it anytime you like. I'm well equipped, as you can see.
The museum that is Tom's office. Thank you guys for tuning in. Stay tuned to our social media pages. We will have more information as stretch goals get unlocked. Thank you guys.